Today's practice is a yin style practice that I really like to do in the morning, for those mornings where I don't feel like exerting too much energy, but no, I want to breathe and feel and really become embodied before I go down, have my coffee and get going. Now, you could do this any time of the day if you need kind of a pause or a reset. Give it a try and see where it fits into your day. So I have a bolster here. I find the first pose, I like that. You could use a chair or do this leaning onto the bed. You'll see where we're going. Have a block. You may or may not want that. And as always, I recommend a blanket nearby. And let's get started first. So make sure you're in comfortable clothes, you're warm enough, the temperature in here. And this first pose, my legs are extended. It's a version of Paschimottanasana. My legs are loose and I like to rest my head on the bolster. Now this is where you could do this on a bed or a chair. You know, if this was a chair, you could be resting like that. You know, it could always be a little bit lower. Or maybe for you, you like to just hang forward. I find this much more supportive and really starting to get a stretch through the back, probably down the legs as well. And let yourself arrive. You're on your mat, noticing the breath, exploring where the sensations are starting. Another option is always sitting on a blanket to lift the hips up. Letting the shoulders soften. This back part of our body is full of thick connective tissue and some pretty major muscles that we use through our day, and starting to find some length. And by finding the length, we're observing the breath, observing sensations, inviting in a sense of curiosity. And tuning deeper into the breath now. Feeling how when you breathe in, breathe out, a sense of filling up and emptying out. We'll be here briefly, each pose is about a 2-minute hold. So we're coming near the end. Just a couple more breaths here. Settling into the shifting mind and body. And finding pause here before you begin your day, or pause here in between all the action of the day. And after your next exhale, slowly lift up. Then you can move away from your bed or put the bolster aside. That's the only one we'll use the bolster for. And now we're gonna grab the blanket. And I have my blanket opened up like this, and then I'm gonna fold it one more time so it's a couple inches thick for sure. You can always decrease that thickness, and I'm just gonna grab my clock so it's a little easier for me to see than off at a distance. And we're gonna lie let me start on your left side, and the blanket is under my ribs, and my armpit and my head are hanging off. My legs are whatever comfortable. And my right arm is dangling overhead. I am supported supporting my body, my head rather. And I'm lying right on the arm, maybe you have it straight or bent. And then the other arm I am draping right over. So I'm resting that right forearm on my head. And I'm gonna try to keep my weight really even on my left hip, but for some reason going more forward or back feels appropriate, then that's what you do. And just starting to maybe feel sides as you breathe in. And as you breathe out. So often in our busy days, we sometimes just feel like we have to get up and go. And I invite you in here to really honor this idea of stopping before you begin. As the thoughts come and go, just notice them. Coming back to the sensation of your body here. And taking a few more breaths. And then to finish up, we'll release the top arm and just start to roll over to the other side. I'm gonna just turn around on my mat so I can still face the camera. But setting up on the blanket, ribs right on there, armpit hanging off, and then finding a position where the bottom arm supports your head and the top arm feels nice and long. And just be mindful of the neck. So as always in this sort of yin or myofascial, there's definitely a level of sensation we're experiencing. But we don't want the sensation to be too intense that it distracts from the relaxation and rest. So we are looking for a sense of stimulation. That's something that we can also rest into. And just adjust as needed. Noticing if you can close the eyes, a sense of draping the body. At any point, if you're inclined to play around with the breath, whether that's evening out the breath, 4 in, 4 out, or maybe 4 in, 6 out, or maybe just simply being with the breath. Noticing the fluctuations of the inhale and the exhale. Last couple of breaths here. And after your next exhale, go on and release that top arm. And we're going to roll onto our belly. Now, you may want the blanket still underneath you, especially if there's any discomfort in the lower back, like compression. I have the blanket right up to my pubic bone, towards the top of my pubic bone. My ribs are not on it, but my pubic bone going up. And I'm coming into Sphinx pose. So I'm gonna give you two options here. So for either one of them, I have my legs loose and just see what feels comfortable on the back. The first option is Sphinx. I've got my hands together, I'm on my forearms. Some people like hands down, forearms down as well. Now the other option, depending on your lower back, is you start to straighten your arms, and that's like an upward dog or seal pose if you're familiar with that one. But I'm letting my belly be heavy, and this pose is very much about the upper back. So I'm trying to sink my chest forward, and obviously this is way more active in the arms than the last couple that we've done. So just see what you need as we settle in for the next 2 minutes here. Blanket is just an option under you. If that's not working, then please feel free to remove it. And as always, like I said, this version with the arms extended, if that's too much, there's always this just as lovely version with forearms down. And again, working this notion of letting the back muscles sort of glide together as the chest descends forward. Maybe you're comfortable tucking your chin here, letting the body sink into the blanket or the ground. And back to just this rhythmic pattern of the breath. We're waking the body up, waking up the breath, finding a sense of embodiment. Almost done here. These compressions of the connective tissue. As we compress, when we start to release, there's like a releasing of the fluid-like substance between the tissues, or in the tissue. And research has shown that experience of hydrating, of compressing and then flushing and moving that fluid through can last for several hours after your practice. Let's slowly release here, lifting the body up, moving your blanket to the side, and coming onto your back. And we'll start just on our backs in constructive rest. Bringing the back down, the head rested, maybe the feet nice and wide, and the knees just moving towards one another. And we're going to move now into a spinal twist. So grabbing that blanket and maybe a block if you need it. And I'm going to place the blanket, I've just opened it and folded it now. I'm going to place it between my knees in a comfortable twisted position, and I'm going to find some variations for my arms. So lately I've liked my opposite arm, my right arm, I've twisted to the left. I don't know if I just said that. I've twisted to the left, and my right arm is overhead again, like the second posture we did when we were lying on the blanket. So I've got my arm overhead, my left arm in a T, and another option is that right arm instead drops back. get more of that chest opener that way, and I'm in cactus arms or T. Lately I've been feeling like I need more through the underside of my arm, down the side body. So letting the hips be heavy, letting your sense of purpose here be about discovering the softness that comes from slowing down. Letting yourself discover what it feels like to be a little more still in the morning, to find focus. After your next exhale or two, we'll release the arms and start to make our way. Maybe you want to move that prop out of the way. Lift the knees in and then switch to the other side, finding your variation of the pose. So again, maybe a cactus arm. Even with the cactus arm, rather than at that 90 degree, if you just lift it up a little bit, that might be similar to the arm up over your head. Just finding a comfortable version here. Letting the body weight settle. Checking in with the head and neck. Making space so that that part of your body feels nourished as well. After your next exhale, start to come back through center, taking out whatever prop you might have placed there. And just pausing briefly on the back. And gently just rocking the knees side to side. And you get some momentum first. And then see if you can shorten it up. So I am literally just rocking. My knees aren't moving very much. I'm particularly getting into the tissue around the sacrum at the base of my spine. Bit of the discs here, bringing some hydration. And then you'll start to find your own tempo, maybe a little more fluid back and forth, or maybe lingering side to side. And coming back to center. And listen up here before you start to move. I'm going to give you a few options. So depending on how you're feeling at the time of the day that you're doing this, one option is going to be legs up a wall. If you are near a wall, or you can move over there and you can bring your bum right up to it and flip the legs up, and you can find a variation for the upper body. Another option, like when I like to do this practice in the morning, I actually like to come into Dolphin Pose to start to energize the body in a different way. And so you can start into legs up the wall or come into your version of Dolphin. Child's Pose is also a really nice alternative. And we'll be here about a minute or so longer. So in my Dolphin Pose is a shortened downward dog, clasp my hands and I really press my outer forearms down. I let my head drop. I start to let the shoulder blades draw in and the chest descend, maybe a bend in the knees. Once I feel pretty connected there, I like to lift the belly up towards the spine, letting the chest descend a bit more. Pushing the mat slightly forward and trying to be mindful of my neck. And you're starting to feel that boost of circulation. With your posture that you're in, finding a sense of presence. Finding a cadence to the breath. Mindful of your edge if you're in dolphin, and at any point in dolphin it's enough coming into child's pose or puppy. Be here another 3 to 5 breaths. If you're in dolphin still, go on and move into a child's pose or maybe Anjani, prayer pose, prayer hands with child leg, getting a stretch through the backs of the arms. Letting the head descend if you're in legs up the wall. Gently bending the knees in and rolling to your side. And then on the breath, making your body moving or lifting your body up. We're going to do one more pose here. So a fish pose. And this is one where we extend the legs. We don't need any props, but maybe have anything nearby as we settle into Shavasana afterwards. And what you're going to do is, I have my hands, fingers facing forward, and I'm coming down onto my elbows and forearms. My legs are extended. And then I've got my hands sliding under my back, palms down, and I'm moving into the pose with the top of my head now on the mat, and I'm sort of sliding into that. There's just a gentle pressure of the head on the mat, shoulder blades underneath. If this is something that is not your pose or not your type of pose, you can always grab that blanket, roll it a long ways underneath the spine, and lie back on it for a chest opener. You also could grab that bolster if you have one. Now, those of you that are in fish pose, think about the back body doing the work of lifting up here. The chest is open the front of the chest is open to receive the posture. As the back of the body just does that 60-70% work. It's the hips settle. And just a few more breaths here in this throat opening, chest opening. Maybe feeling it in the neck afterwards as well. Checking in with the lower back, making sure there's a healthy extension here that feels nourishing. And after your next exhale, lifting up gently, tucking the chin. And we are going to take a brief Shavasana here. If you feel like you need it, maybe coming back to that wider placed feet, the knees knocking, or maybe a simple windshield wipe again, connecting with the lower portion of your back and the hips. And finding your way into a brief Shavasana. We'll be here very briefly, and then we'll do a brief seated pranayama practice. So finding a way for your body to be comfortable, and if that means grabbing a prop, or covering the eyes, or shifting your hair out of the way, whatever it is. Letting the stillness greet you like a friend. Sometimes stillness is our superpower. Now, if you'd like to stay here and take Shavasana here, and take our pranayama, if you want to stay here, go for that. If you are ready to roll up and come to a seated position, you can join me there. And this just depends on maybe where the time of the day is, what time of the day you're doing this. So you might be ready to be on your back for a few more minutes, or maybe you are looking to get upright. So come on and take a nice comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you, so that the knees are below the hips and you can feel nice and strong and tall through the spine. And we're going to practice the pranayama technique where we do counting. So we'll start with a 4 count in and a 6 count out. And then at any point you can decrease that. We'll also then, I'll introduce you to maybe going 4 count in, 8 count out, never straining with the breath. So let's get started just coming into your seat if you're not there already, or in Shavasana, just noticing the breath. And the next time you begin, we'll start to count to the 4 count in. Top of the breath, we'll switch to a 6 count out. And moving that way, and I'm not gonna be counting out loud because I want you to find your rhythm. Maybe for you, 4 in and 6 out is a little bit quicker than my count. So find a rhythmic pattern for yourself, but I will guide us through right now that 4 in and 6 out. Next round, maybe you want to do 4 in and 8 out. Maybe now you want to do a 4 in, hold the breath for 8, and then exhale 8. And at any point coming back to 4 count in, 6 count out, and decreasing anywhere. But remember, here we're looking for a longer exhale as a way to settle the body and mind and bring us into a calm, focused state. We'll do just a couple more rounds here together. the bottom of your next exhale, just return to your natural breathing pattern. Drawing the hands together in front of the heart. I honor you for your practice today and for your presence. And may this notion of stopping before you begin add nourishment and vitality and beauty into your day. Namaste.